So, I had the honor of being a presenter at a Exit Realties. They had an event in the Midwest region. It was only brokers, it was leadership. And what they were talking about was how to empower their agents, right? Like what are the brokers doing to empower their agents? How are their trainings going? They were sharing success stories of their highest performing agents. And they're doing some things right because they have like something like top 10% of the agents are with Exit out of everybody. So they're doing some really interesting things there, and I wanted to share some of the takeaways that we got from their leadership, and then also some more of the stuff that we were sharing before. So just a quick recap of the regional event that I attended. A couple of bullets that I took down that I thought I wanted to share with you guys because they're pretty important. The first thing is that all of the top agents, all of the people that are in that top 10% of producing agents, they all have systems and processes in place. Not just like one thing, but they have multiple systems and processes in place to handle their business, right? So they can take vacation still, they can take time off, they can do things, and things are in place to handle that. And when it comes to processes and systems, it's a combination of technology and like workflows, like an understand, like they have an assistant or it's themselves. Was actually surprised to find out that some of the top producing agents are just like an agent with some assistants. It's not like giant teams. There's individual agents that are outperforming even larger teams, and that was surprising to hear. But the one thing they had in common were the use of processes and systems. And this includes like a daily ritual, right? When you wake up, you have a process, you have a ritual that you go through. And they had some things, some pitfall traps to avoid, like getting on social media first thing in the morning. Like, don't do that. Posting to social is important, but don't have it be the first thing you're doing because you're going to get caught in a rabbit hole. And I won't get into the specifics of the do's and don'ts, but the fact is that every single top agent that they interviewed had the same things to say. They had the same exact things in place. They were each a little bit different, right? Everyone's process, everyone's technology, the things that they're using are different, but they have these same systems in place. One of the strategies actually that was a commonality were the like a process for every single closing, whether it's a buyer or a seller or a referral or you passed it off or whatever happened. You're reaching out on a 1 month or 1 week, 1 month, 6 month, 1 year basis in regards to that specific closing or that transaction. So that was a really commonality. And then this is outside of the market updates. This is outside of regular sphere contact. This is specific touch points for that individual based on the closing. So again, 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, that was a common element across every single process and system that they had. Every single time they get a closing, that was in place. Well, and I get it, whether it's buyer or seller, they successfully had a client close a transaction. This was put into place. So, what are some of the other commonalities? The 80-20 rule is both from a brokerage standpoint and an individual agent standpoint, which is that 80% of your business comes from 20% of your activities. And we need to focus on that 20% that is generating activity, that's generating our business. So, what is that? Like, we have to actually go back and look, where is your business coming from, and really reinvest into that same channel. And then this same thing applied to the brokers because they often spend 80% of their time talking to the agents that are doing no business, right? And that's where they found that they needed to both focus their attention. And this is good for agents that are performing, but on of us that are not, like, that's what leadership is telling them. They're like, hey, the agents that aren't performing, don't give them your resources, because we have that same rule. You're not going to dedicate your resources to things that aren't performing, and they're feeling the same way from a leadership level. So that 80-20 rule was a really important aspect for the top agents that they interviewed and the leadership and brokerage leaders there. So another fact, actually, 75% on average of your business is coming from your sphere. So talking about that 80-20 rule, most of our time should be attacking that sphere, right? Really prospecting and going up and following up with our sphere. And again, if you're like a newer agent, your sphere isn't big yet, that balance is probably going to be different, right? You need to build up your sphere before you can get 75% of your business from it. But that's what their stats showed. They did really deep dives on multiple teams, and that's where 75% of their business is coming from, was from their sphere. So don't underestimate the power of marketing to your audience, guys, to the people that we've already met. You know, we already did all the hard work of generating that lead, and now we really have to touch them with valuable insights, with information. And that's why every training that we've done here every week has been in alignment with that, right? It's like, here's how to update your market. Here's how to do an interesting thing that's going to actually engage your sphere, that's going to put you top of mind in front of your sphere. Because I can't tell you enough, they said the same thing, that personalization was a huge deal, because a lot of agents will sort of hook up to some system that sends out some marketing material, and there's 10,000 other agents that are doing the same thing, and they're the same marketing material, and it's very generic. And while that's better than nothing, it's not going to be as effective at keeping you top of mind when it comes to talking to your sphere. So that's the important part that they mentioned when talking to your sphere, is making sure it's personalized. Now, there are some technologies that will add your contact information, your branding and stuff. So at least there's some representation of you in this type of automation. But those were the key takeaways from that thing. 75% of your business is from the sphere. The 80-20 rule is extremely important. So if you don't understand where your 80-20 lies right now, go back and look where your past buyers and sellers and transactions, where they came from. And then that's the channel you're going to want to reinvest most of your efforts into. So, and again, this was a commonality, a mistake among all their agents that aren't performing well, is they're spending their time doing activities that aren't generating their business. So make sure you guys do a little diligence, understand where your business is coming from, and really focus in on that 20%, giving 80% of your time, your energy to that 20. Okay. So anyway, that was just a little insight from this very interesting leadership call that I had. Like I said, there was 100 brokerage leaders in this room, top agents in the United States in the room, and it was really valuable to hear from them. Most importantly were those commonalities that they all had, like processes and systems. And so, Pete, to your question, there's not any specific systems or processes, because everyone sort of had their own thing. Like one of the top producing agents, she has her name put on boxes, moving boxes. And so every time they do a closing, she's like, here's the boxes, here's my boxes with my stuff on it. And that is obviously a branding opportunity. It's a opportunity to really make a difference in someone's daily life, right? They're like, wow, I don't have to go buy all these boxes. Now we can put all our stuff in these. So just little processes like that. But again, that's not a technology. That's not a service. That's something, a process that someone developed to reinvest into their clientele and their business. So when I'm talking about processes and systems, it doesn't necessarily have to be any one given technology or any one given process. It's a methodology that we're applying to every single thing that happens. So like when you get a lead, that's a perfect example of having processes and a system in place. And that does incorporate both technology and manual effort, right? So, okay, lead comes in, call attempt 1, put into automation, automatic email sent, automatic text message sent, reminder to call 1 day later, right? That's both a process and a system, because it's a process that you understand when this lead comes in. I have a process that's going to be followed until that lead says, I already have an agent. No, thank you. Stop talking to me, right? Or let's do it. That's the process. And the system is the technologies that we're using to fulfill that process. So again, we're not married or tied to any one thing. We're all sort of agnostic here, right? Maybe we have a different CRM. We have a different buyer's guide. We're in different locations with different types of clientele. But what it is going to be is finding out where your 80-20 is, right? If you're dealing with just buyers and that seems to be where your business is coming from, How can you reinvest in that? How can you reinvest in the systems and processes that are going to help you retain and work with more of those buyers and convert more of them, right? Reinvest in that 20%, that 80% of your business is coming from. Anyway, guys, that's the quick recap of this event. There was a lot more to it, but those were the general takeaways from every single leadership, every single top producing agent that they interviewed and got to come up and speak on stage. They all had some different variation of that. They described what their system was. And like I said, the 1 week, 1 month, 6 weeks, that was a commonality that once one person came up and said that, every other person that came up and spoke after them had the same bit of advice. They're like, I absolutely use the 1 week, 1 month, 6 month rule. Like every single time they're put into a workflow where they're going to get that information. So that was a commonality amongst every agent there, every agent and broker that got to present. Another thing that the brokers told, this is from a Dubb standpoint, which is when these brokers are hosting training, they can't just jump from one topic to another topic in the next week. And we have sort of been a little bit guilty of that. We're like, okay, we taught one thing, now we're going to go to a new thing. And they're like, you can't do that. You have to teach one topic. And then in the next session, you have to review that topic because agents will have maybe done some of it. Maybe they haven't done any of it. Maybe they missed the last training. So there always has to be some overlap in these sessions so that we're saying, okay, here's what we learned last time. Here's a recap of what we learned. And now here's a little something new. And then in the next session, here's a recap of what we learned. And then here's a little something new. And that way there's some revision. And again, this was from the top trainers at this brokerage, at this real estate company, that this is how they're training their agents more effectively. That was learnings that they achieved. So I wanted to take a page from their book and provide the same thing. Because again, many of you are probably in the same boat. Didn't get the last time's training, or sort of were, too much at one time. And so I wanted to revisit that. And the last training that we did, guys, was actually on automation, on using some automated processes. One of those was for the Facebook lead thing. If you guys remember that training, we talked about how to use Facebook advertising to generate leads, seller leads, and then to qualify them with that video component, how to increase your home's value. And so we had a lot of people in the training that time that said, well, how do I do that? How do I make a video about how to increase your home's value? So we're going to bring that back. We're going to finish that training and really complete the circle on that piece. And then we have a couple other little short lessons for you. So that is going to be the first part of this. We're going to review the lesson that we talked about last time and complete the story with that. So here's the recap, guys. I don't have a slide for you. I'm just going to talk, and then I'm going to show you the images. The first piece is generating that lead on Facebook. We talked about how to create a Facebook advertisement. And in fact, we have a nice little training video that's like 10 minutes long. That's not a full hour you have to rewatch. So if anyone would like that first part of how to set up your first Facebook ad, we have that available for you. That was the training we talked about last time, was using Facebook to generate a seller lead. Part of that workflow was we need to tantalize, we need to tease, we need to get this seller lead to want to work with us. And the way we were doing that is by offering what's called a lead magnet. And the lead magnet that we recommended was how to increase your home's value, a video. And we're going to say, hey, Mr. Seller Lead, this is the advertisement. It says, do you want to know how to increase your home's value? Fill out this form, and we're going to share this insider information with you on how to increase your home's value. That was the advertisement we talked about creating. And again, if anyone's unfamiliar or that sounds interesting or whatever, let me know in this chat. We'll come send that training to you after this, because we have a nice succinct version of creating that. The second part of that is the actual educational piece. Share, we got you there. We'll send it over. The actual educational piece, how to create a video to instruct someone on how to increase their home's value. And, in our mind, we're like, yeah, you just share your screen and show some stuff. And we're like, wait. No, I need to see the actual, how does this work? So what we actually did, we tried to make this a little bit easier for you guys. We have created a template for you. Where did this go? There it is. So this is the template for this video. And this is just a Canva PowerPoint presentation. But what we've done here is, again, try to make this as easy for you guys as possible. There's several slides here that talk about the top methods for how to increase your home's value. And all you have to do is take this template we're going to share with you and record your screen on top of this template. So you're going to share the presentation like that, right? I'll just go into a little mini version of this. And then we can use the Dubb app to record our video right on top of this. And I'm going to say, hey guys, I'm going to show you how to increase your home's value. The first thing we need to talk about is decluttering. If your house is a mess, this is number one. This is going to create a better space. It's going to improve organization, enhance the aesthetics of your home that's already there. So anyway, this is my point, is you're going to take this template and just walk through each one of these. Curb appeal, just look, guys, how much more do you think the home value on the right is on the left? Like we have the lorem ipsum crap at the bottom, because if you want to put some text there, you're welcome to do that, or you can simply talk them through this. If you have your own insights, again, we left this sort of blank here because this is your opportunity to present to them, to tell them why this is important, why this is going to make a difference in their business, or sorry, in their home's value. So this is that curb appeal slide. And then you go fresh paint. I mean, first, just look, which one looks better? That one looks like it was a smoker's house and it's old and dingy, and you got the nice fresh white paint on the right. Which of these do you think is going to be more appealing? And anyway, you can take your own, again, your expertise, your voice, but we've tried to make it as easy as possible here. So the best tips on increasing home value are in a nice presentation, and all you have to do is record your screen telling them, here's that information I had for you. So this is the completing the circle on the training that we did a previous 2 weeks ago on the Facebook advertisement with this lead magnet going into a workflow. I promised I would show you guys how to create this video, and this is probably the easiest way to do it. It's just there, click and talk about what you're seeing, because we all have an opinion about this, right? Like even without any research, without doing any homework, if you see this and the client says, well, why would I do this? You'd have an answer, right? You could come up with something and say, well, you can clearly see, or you would say that actually it's shown that, you know, having a fresh coat of paint achieves X, Y, Z. You can do some diligence if you want, or just speak off the cuff, because we can all frankly do that to images like this. It's a clear sort of difference in each of these and why they would be beneficial. So that piece is there. If anyone would like the template to this slideshow, let us know. Toss that into the chat, toss that into the Q&A, or we don't have Q&A here, just the chat, and say template, and we'll get the home, how to increase your home value template over to you. And it just makes it really easy to record this video. Now, this isn't the only application for this video as well, guys. It doesn't have to be only used in an advertisement. This is a perfect video to put into a nurturing sequence or a marketing update, or anything where you're trying to communicate with a potential seller of how they can increase their home's value, because it does several things. One, it educates the seller on their homes, how to increase their home's value. Sweet, right? Bigger commissions. Two, it positions you as a leader. It positions you as an intelligent professional who actually knows how to help these people do the things that they're after. Because what are they after? They want to get as most money from their home as they can, right? And now here you are, the expert, showing them preemptively, because they didn't even ask. You're going to send this ahead of time. Unless it's in the ad, then they've technically asked because they clicked on an ad that said, I want this information. So again, even if you're not doing a Facebook advertisement, this type of video can go a long way in your content creation. This can be a post on social media. This can be a email directly to your sphere. I think everyone that sees that would have value from this, and you're going to have value because it's positioning you as a leader, as a thought leader that knows what's happening, that's able to present this information. Okay, so that is the partial recap of 2 weeks ago's lesson, how to record your increase your home value video. There's the one other part of that, guys, which we talked about, and we're going to actually revisit it a little bit this week because it involves the automation component. This was, again, a single element across all the agents that were top producers there. They all have systems and technologies in place so that things can operate when they're busy, when they're sick, when they're on vacation, when they have a family emergency. They all have these things in place so that they can do these things. I mean, I don't know how many top producers do you know that don't take vacations, because these guys all couldn't stop talking about it. They're like, yeah, do this so you can take a vacation. So the systems and processes, well, that's one of these forms is automation. Automation is a process, but it's also a system, because you're going to develop your system, which is every time a lead comes in, this system is going to happen. The system is a process of, I'm going to send them an email, I'm going to make a phone call, then it's going to send them a text message. And then once every 3 days, it's going to remind them, hey, I'm ready to talk. I got your information. Here's some insight about the market, right? So this automated process, again, is the key to leveraging yourself when you're not around. And this doesn't have to mean like vacation either. It could mean like after 6 p.m., right? You're eating dinner, you're with your family. You don't want to be answering phone calls and doing, of course, we do that sometimes, but when you want that freedom, we need these things in place. And that's why we talked last time about building an automatic process. I also had a special offer for anyone that wants to take advantage of automation. And so that was presented. I'll mention that here at the end again. But we did one other training in that session, which was for open houses. How manual is most people's open house process? They have a little sign-in sheet, and then people sign physically, right? They put the name, they put an email, and then we're chasing those leads down manually. And so this is actually a process that can be automated as well. So I wanted to show you guys today the process for potentially automating the open house sign up. So that's what we're going to do is, again, this is a continuation because it's going to involve automation, but it's just a different strategy in where to involve it. So as I mentioned too, also guys, if you missed the training on Facebook and want to run Facebook leads or advertisements, please let us know in the chat. We'll send the previous training to you. And because that covers two things. It covers one, how to use Facebook to generate the lead, and then two, how to use Dubb to create an automated process to follow up with those leads. So today's sort of a continuation on that training, but instead of using Facebook leads, we're going to be using open house leads. So what we're talking about is we've seen the open house forms, right? So we've seen the form. It just has the form, it says, first name, last name, email. Are you working with an agent? Potentially, right? Well, instead of having that on a physical form where they have to come write things and make, whatever, fill out things, and then you have to come try to read their handwriting and make sure you're entering their emails and stuff right into your database, we would like to do that a little bit more automatically. And in fact, automate the process of following up with them. So what this means is two things, guys. It's a QR code on your open house sign up sheet. So where did Ina, if you're with us, I think Ruben designed one of those. If you could try to find that for me. There was a nice open house with a QR code that he had somewhere. And I just want to show you guys that visual, because essentially all we're going to do is take the regular open house sign up that you would have, and instead of having it be, I'll just do sign-in sheet. I'll just show you guys what we're talking about really quick. So instead of this open house sign up sheet like that, it's going to have a QR code right in the front and center. That's going to be the main way to sign up. And of course, you'll still have a little first name, last name thing like at the bottom or on the back in case there's some old folks or people that don't want to use a QR. They're like, I just want to sign. If that's the case, you'd still have the little names I recommended on the back. And on the front, you're going to have a QR code. What does this QR code lead to? It's going to lead to a Dubb video page that has a form beneath it. And the form is going to be your sign-in sheet. So I'm going to show you guys right now the step-by-step process to create this. So the first thing most of you will want to do is have some questions on your form, right? When I was an agent, my open house sign-in sheet said, first name, last name, email, number, are you working with an agent? That's all I had on mine. If you guys have other questions beyond that, you can add them, but I'm just going to add those ones. The only one we need to add to Dubb is, are you working with an agent? And so that's the question we're going to add to Dubb. I just added that. Now we're going to make this form. And the form is going to be how we're going to automate this process. So instead of having people manually sign, they're going to point their camera to a QR, type in their stuff, and it's likely going to be auto-filled, which is even easier for them. And then they can hit submit, and it's going to enroll them into our stuff, into our automatic follow-up, into our database so that we can take advantage of this. So that was the step one, creating that one custom question, which is, are you working with an agent? Then we're going to go over here to create a form. We're going to call it the open house form. Sign in. So that's the form title, is just sign in. Form description, don't need it, but you can put one. And you could say, you know, add your information below. And then what did we say? We want the questions to see email, first name, last name, mobile. We make those required. That's what this little box is over here. It means that it's required. Now, the mobile phone, you either can require it or not. In this case, we really, really want their mobile phone. So maybe we want to require it. If they don't want to give you their mobile, maybe they'll put in a fake number or something. But we really want their mobiles in these cases so we can call them and stuff. And then there was one other question that we just added, which is the, are you working with an agent? So now here's our form, email, first name, last name, mobile. Maybe we want the first name first and then their email, so we can change the order like that. Great. So this form is now ready to go. One thing, what did I forget? Oh, the action. So what happens when they submit that form? It just says, thanks. Because in this case, we don't need to do anything else with them. But what we do want is to add a tag to them. It says that they filled out the open house form. So now what happens? We're going to have a QR code on our open house sign up. It's going to have a form. So when they point their camera to the QR code, it's going to take them straight to a video page with a form. And when they fill the form, it's going to add a tag to them, which is going to keep them organized. It's also going to send a notification to you that says, hey, someone filled out your open house form. So when you go in your email, you'll have it and know who filled out the form, and their data is going to be there. So that's the first thing that we did. We created the form for our open house intake. And this is going to be the same form every time. So you guys don't have to recreate this all the time. You just create it one time, and then you can reuse that same sheet with the same QR code over and over, every open house you want to sit. So this is the next step, recording that form video. So you're going to come here, hit record, and you'd say something like this. Hey there, thanks so much for attending my open house. By providing your information below, it's going to make sure that we're both protected and we're able to provide the best service possible, right? We all have our reasons like why we want to get the information. You can, this is not part of the recording. I'm just talking to you guys where I've had people at an open house and they're like, well, do I have to fill this out? And they're like, yeah, it's a safety thing. You have to fill it out. That's what our broker told us to say, but you maybe have your own reason why they should fill out this information. So give them that reason, say, hey, thank you so much for checking our open house. Provide your information below and we'll be in touch shortly. That's it. Nice short video. This video is now going to have that form beneath it. So I'll actually just record it. I'll just make it short. So whatever. It says, thanks for attending my open house. Fill out the form below. Something like that, generic. You can do a much better job than that. Doesn't have to be crazy, just something nice and simple. Hey, thanks so much for attending my open house. I hope you liked it. Pop in your information down below. Unless you're working with an agent, then don't bother. Anyways, once you have that form, we created that in the previous step. Now you're going to attach this form to a video. So I'm going to call it open house form. The type is form. And then you select open house form. I like the modal. I'll show you what that is in one moment. So there we go. I have now connected my video. Actually, I'm going to leave those testimonials on there. That's good. So now this video, the QR code is now ready to put on my open house sign up. And when they scan that QR code, it's going to take them right to my video page where it's going to have the form that pops up like that. First name, last name, email, mobile, are you working with an agent? And when they submit this, I'll talk about that next. That's going to hopefully be something that we have a system, a process in place for. So what else is on this page? Your guys' branding. If you guys have been with Dubb for any length of time, you will hopefully have a preset, and it's going to look like a nice professional landing page with your logos, your branding, maybe some testimonials from your clients, maybe some reviews they can read from your clients. But they're going to be encouraged here to fill the form. And when they do so, now they're in our database. And now also, if you guys are using an external CRM, if you already have a CRM in place like Chime or something like that, you can place the forms from their system here below the video. So again, it's the same QR code that leads to the form fill that goes to either your CRM or Dubb. But the process here is the same. And the system in this case is going to be the same, because what we're doing is we're taking, instead of the handwritten things, and we're manually trying to type those things and hope their handwriting was neat enough. We're going to take this information and it's going to automatically be sent to us in an email for one. So there we got a nice email that says, hey, this person visited your open house. The second thing we're going to talk about, which is, what are we going to do now? What is the process we're going to have in place for this? I can tell you guys what other agents have done, what works well, and then you can make your own decision. So what we're recommending is, again, an automation. So as soon as somebody fills this out, they have a message, either text or email or both, sent to them immediately that says, hey, we appreciate you attending our open house. I wanted to just follow up with you personally. My information is below. You'll find some of my reviews and find out that I'm working with people just like yourself, and we've been in this area for so long, right? Whatever your value proposition, right? Because what are you going to do when that open house is finished? You're going to try to call those people, right? And then if they don't answer the phone, then you're going to try to text those people. Then you're going to try to email those people. Well, instead of doing that all manually, the phone call, I still recommend, don't not do the phone call, because if you get them on the phone, great. But when we don't, we want a technology in place. We want a process and a system so that every single time we get an open house sign up, we have that same system and process that's been built out, that's been battle tested, that we've invested in, and that we know is going to work better than the manual sort of, what are we doing with these people? I don't know. Did we call them? Yeah. Okay. I gave up. Right. Like, I've sat opens, I've gotten leads, and I remember that process, and it's not easy. And the most we want to do is take the difficult parts of that off of our plate. Because after that open house, come Monday, come next Friday or Saturday, you're doing more opens, and those people are off the plate probably, right? They're out of our mind now because they didn't answer the first time. So this is the second part of this, which is going to be building a process, a system that takes place after this form is filled. And now, again, this is where things can get a little discrepant or a little different, because if you're using a third-party CRM like a Chime or Wise Agent or whatever you have with a form here, then this process and system is now going to be passed over to your CRM, where hopefully you have an automation, a series of automatic activities that are going to help you chase this person down until they've taken action. Whether that's emails or text messages, I recommend both, because both is going to be more effective than just one. In the real estate space, people are very active in SMS. There will be plenty of people that'll say stop, not realizing it's not an automated text message, but that's the way that it's going to work. And you will have better results in using an omni-channel approach. So more than one channel, right? Email and SMS double your chances of connecting with that person. So having the system and process, again, guys, this doesn't require an automation of technology. It can be fully manual, but let's face it, at the end of the day, that is going to take a lot of time and bandwidth and resources from you or from your assistants or whoever's calling and text messaging, emailing people. It's going to take a lot more to do that on an ongoing basis. What about 1 week from now, 2 weeks from now? Are you going to remember to call that open house lead or to email or text that lead that you met at the open house 2 weeks ago? Maybe if it was a great conversation. But by using a system and a process, you'll have those things in place. And the benefit of using automation is it happens automatically. Having manual processes and systems is good, but it still requires you to manually input those steps. So that's really the difference between using an automation and manual processes and systems. So that's why I was saying earlier, there's not necessarily a given name for a process or system because it doesn't necessarily involve even technology. It can involve a purely manual process. Again, that's not what we're going to recommend. That's not what any of the top producers are doing. They have some manual processes, but a lot of them are automated. A lot of them are in place to take action without them having to come and sit behind the keyboard or a phone or something. So that's what I'm going to show you guys next. After they fill the form, what happens? What we're going to recommend is building out an automated process. Again, this is the recap from 2 weeks because we're going to show you the same workflow that we built last time. So this one right here, it says auto email for Facebook lead. I'm going to show you guys this workflow again. How this one worked is once somebody fills out a form on Facebook, right? They've requested the information on how to increase their home's value. It's going to send them an automatic email. And then it's going to wait a day, and then it's going to send them another email. This same exact type of process, in this case, it's a technology, it's an automatic workflow. This is the same exact thing we want in place for the open house leads, Facebook leads, any lead that's coming in, because this is the process that we're typically doing the worst job with, is follow-up. How many times have you followed up? How many times are you going to call and text and email someone that didn't answer the first time? Like, honestly, right? How many times? I think after 3 times I gave up. I was like, okay, I've left 3 voicemails. I've sent 3 text messages. I've sent 3 emails. There's been no response. I'm going to give up. And does that mean that that lead is dead? No. There's been people that have responded 6 months later and said, okay, we're finally ready. And then now they're ready to go. But had you not stayed in touch and top of that person, they would have gone with someone else because you're not top of mind with them anymore. So this is just a little simple workflow. And in fact, I would recommend something very similar. It doesn't have to be very complex. So person fills out open house form. That's step 1. Just replace it with that. Instead of a Facebook lead, it's an open house form. Then they're going to get an automatic email and possibly an automatic text message if you guys are ready for that. And then that way, as soon as they fill out this form, they're going to have something in front of them, which is a personal greeting from you saying, hey, just wanted to thank you so much for attending. Here's some of the information below. You'll find out we have 5-star reviews. We've been doing this for so many years. Again, your value proposition. What are you going to tell that person when you try to call them and email and text them and to earn their business on the follow-up? That's what's going to go in this message, except it's going to happen automatically. And so instead of you fretting about after the open, how I got to follow up with these people, I got to do that. It's already done. It's in the system. And then you're going to be able to call them and say, hey, I sent you a little video in your email and your text. Did you get a chance to see that? No? Okay, well, here's what we talked about. Or yes, okay, you liked it. And now we're like a celebrity already. So this is the next step, is building out a process. This case, it is a technological process for automating follow-up. And again, how busy are we going to be on that weekend? Like in that moment, even there's 3 people, 4 people in the open. You're talking to someone walks in and they scan their thing. You didn't even have a chance to greet them because you're busy. This does it for you. This is going to greet them. They're going to scan it and then boom, they're going to get a text and an email. And they're like, wait, what? Oh, that's her. That's him. And now they're going to have that right there. So again, this is the same technology that we showed last training, because according to the leaders over at Exit, we need to revisit some things. And so this is us revisiting the same technology, but in a different point of view for a different use case. And as I mentioned, every single lead needs a process and a system in place. So just take for a moment and think, guys, what does your process and system look like right now? Is it defined? Is it structured? Is it the best that it could be? because let's face it, guys, we're in a low volume situation right now. There's lower volume right now than there has been for years, right? And so that means every single lead that comes in, we need to be much more intelligent with. We need to have these systems and technologies and processes in place so that we're squeezing every little drop that we can out of the efforts we're already doing, because the market is what it is right now. And the fact is it's low volume. So that means we need to be smarter and work harder for every lead. I'm not a big fan of working harder. I already feel like I work as hard as I can. So I'm a fan of working smarter. Let's be more intelligent with the actions that we're taking instead of just trying to work harder and more hours. So that's, again, why we're recommending an automated process for every lead opportunity, because whatever your expertise is it buyers, is it sellers, is it veterans, is it international, right? Everyone's got a different thing, but what is your system and process that's in place for those opportunities? Again, that's your takeaway from this, guys. Write a note. And if anyone has a system or process, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know, like, here's my process that I have for open house leads. If anyone has that defined, and if you're thinking now, you know what, I don't have that defined, I sort of just have it in my mind about what I might do, I encourage you guys to take this training, take this opportunity, because this is what we did. This is what we did in that big broker training. They had everybody there write things down, because then they found that I actually don't know what I'm writing. Actually, I'm not sure. And like, while it might be sort of clear in our head, when we actually go to put it to paper, you find that, wow, there's a lot of opportunity I'm missing here, or I could really do a better job on this, or I actually don't even have a process at all. I just sort of call them and email, and if I connect, I don't. If I do, I don't. And that's where most people are in reality. I think it's something like 50% of agents still don't use a CRM, even though the stats are out there. They say agents that use a CRM outperform agents that don't. It's been 20 plus years that information has been available. So again, take that moment and look, just reflect and say, do I have the best processes and systems that I can in place? Because leads are hard enough to generate and to gather right now, right? Hopefully that turns around, gets a little easier, and rates come down. But while it is the way it is, let's get good at doing this now. And imagine when leads come back on, when lead flow, when volume turns back up, if we have these processes and systems in place, it's going to be that much better for our business, because we really learned how to hunt and kill and feed ourselves in a time when there's famine. And so when it's feast time, we're going to be killing it if we've had these things in place. And on the converse, when it happens and we're rushing, and now we're so busy trying to keep up with business that we don't have time to build systems and processes in place. So think about that too. Like, good times or bad times, this skill set of being able to build out a process for your business, build out a system, that's a skill set. And whether you change locations or anything changes, you still have that skill set. You still have this knowledge that, look, I've done this before. I've built a system. I know exactly what I'm going to do when a lead comes in or when this happens. So anyway, I've kind of beat this one to death, guys. And I feel like I got the point home. Make sure you have a process and system. And if you don't, you want to come talk to us, we can talk here. Now we got a few more minutes. You can come to live trainings, right? We're there every single weekday at 10 a.m. Come participate there. Come talk about your strategy, your workflow, your process there. Happy to give you a little audit and say, okay, well, what does it look like now? When does it look like on Tuesday? And how often are you sending? How many times, right? Happy to provide some sort of audit on a guys' process or systems if you want to come talk to us.
Hey, Darius, too, also just a little kind of cherry on top of everything. So Dr. Darius just went through all that stuff, all the breakdowns, just from a quick little creative standpoint. One thing that Ruben and I have noticed, we talked about social personal branding the other day, and we noticed just from a stylistic standpoint, when you're doing your content, whether it's nurturing, like Darius talked about, nurturing is huge right now, especially across your social channels. From a style perspective, if you grab the mobile app and you use the virtual background, we're trying to tell as many people as we can to use it. It's an amazing tech. It looks really good. So if you're doing like a market update, I'll share my screen and give you an example of what it kind of looks like if you're doing shorts. Like if you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram Reels or you're on TikTok, you're able to put these right behind you, and you can actually talk about a certain value here. And this is one clip, right? That's one clip. And then I went to the next clip on the mobile app, and it's got a different piece of information over my head. And then I'm going to jump to a third clip right here. But this style online has been really popular lately, and especially in a short form content. So if you're doing any kind of nurturing or your cross social channels, consider doing that. You can also do it with the desktop app where you can crunch the browser, which Darius has gone over before. But if you're on the mobile, the virtual background on the mobile is great. So if you just play with it from a creative standpoint.
This is actually, again, this comes back to the process and system. Like, my process is every month, I'm going to do a monthly market update, and I'm going to touch my whole sphere. I'm going to put it out on social. Every single person I can possibly communicate with, I'm going to do my monthly market update. That's the process. And then the system is the things you're actually going to use to make that happen. So whether it's the mobile app, like Rob just showed with the little virtual background and the market information there, or you're doing a screen recording with those same bits of information on the screen and you're a bubble, that's the actual system you're going to use to fulfill that process. So having that in place is going to be critical. Again, doesn't have to deal with leads. This one was outside of leads. This was for your sphere of influence marketing. But the same thing, the same rules apply. Having a process and system applied to each part of your business is the takeaway that we got from that leadership event. It was really, really great to see. Like I said, top 10% in the United States was in that room. And it was a great place to be because that's what we learned. So each part of your business, it's not just like an overall thing, but every part of your business should have a process and system. So what Rob just brought up, what is your social? Do you have a process for what you're doing for social? Do you have a system? Do you know what your plan is? If not, now's a great time to understand. Here's my process for social media. I'm going to research on Monday, the first day of the month, and then I'm going to do some slides, and then I'm going to use a system where I'm going to do the mobile app, and I'm going to record with the back, or I'm going to do the virtual screen, and I'm going to record my monthly market update, and then I'm going to use Dubb to do a campaign blast, and then I'm going to post to social. Again, that's a process and a system and technology in one. And that's what our takeaway is from this, guys, is we need you to implement these processes in your systems. Without these processes, without a system, we're just like flying by the wind, right? Whatever happens, like I'm busy today, I'm not busy tomorrow. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what I do with this lead? Not to insult anyone, but that's just not any way to do business well, right? We look at any single professional in any industry, in any space, they're all doing things like by the book, right? Like it's how we're supposed to do them. And this is the book. The book has been thrown at us and it says, use a system, use a process, make it repeatable. It's so much easier when you have a routine, like a content calendar. I'm going to create these pieces of content on this date. I've talked about that in the past. Having a plan makes everything possible, because otherwise you're just going to wake up every day and wonder, what am I doing today? How am I going to follow up with these leads? What is it? So,
hey, Darius,
anyway.
do you have time for a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. I noticed on your desktop when you shared that you are a user of MailChimp too, right?
Where did you
was that MailChimp or SurveyMonkey? I think it was MailChimp.
We have an integration with MailChimp, so I have, that's a little MailChimp integration piece. I think I saw what you were talking about here.
So I was going to ask you,
we like MailChimp. We have a great integration.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, when you think about sending mail through MailChimp versus sending mail through your system versus sending mail through your CRM, what in your opinion, what's the best way to kind of segment that out? When would you use MailChimp over the Dubb mail system versus CRM in building out these processes?
That's a really great question. Excellent question. In fact, anyone that has an existing mail system in place, I recommend two things. One is doing a split test, because like I've had multiple clients that were on MailChimp, on ActiveCampaign, sending out campaigns, thinking, okay, we're getting good results. We're doing all right. And then actually having done a split test and then sent a campaign through Dubb and noticed a completely different result set. So I always recommend, because we don't know what we don't know. So I do always recommend a split test. If you've been doing something for a while, try something different and then compare those results because we won't know until we know. In fact, those times that I've had people switch from MailChimp to like a SendGrid plus Dubb, they've experienced a much larger intake of opens and clicks. ActiveCampaign as well, that like our buddy Jeffrey Gittimer, sort of an old school sales coach, he partnered up with us, and before they were using ActiveCampaign and getting about a 10% open on their emails, we switched them over to Dubb and SendGrid, and they got a 30% click through on their first campaigns. So it was like a 300% increase in response from one campaign to the next. Now, that may have been a combination of both video and the optimized servers like set up on SendGrid versus the ActiveCampaign they were on. So that's my number one thing, is like we don't know until we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So always do a split test, because it answers sort of both those questions. What if we try this thing that answers two unknowns? Well, no, look, ActiveCampaign did better, MailChimp did better, so we're good this whole time, and now I feel more confident knowing that this is the solution for me.
Are you saying SendGrid is the back end to your mail system?
Yeah, SendGrid is what we recommend for people to connect to Dubb, because then, like, because you can connect to Gmail, you can connect an Outlook, but it's limited to like 300 per day. With SendGrid, you can connect it and send 50,000 emails at a time, and it's much more cost effective than things like MailChimp and ActiveCampaign. It's like 50,000 emails for like $30, I think, which is a lot less than other platforms.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, no, really, really great question. And that split testing thing, again, that's a big concept for me, guys, because we simply don't know what's going to be the best until we've actually measured it. And like another big concept, thank you for bringing that up. Speaking of email marketing, at some point, I have to say this every time, at some point, email templates became really popular. Big, fancy templates. They became very popular because from our end, they look amazing. You're like, look at all this stuff that I built and all this cool stuff. It looks great. But when it comes to actual results, I definitely encourage you, if you're doing heavy templates right now, try a human looking email and split test that. So just make it look like you typed the email, add a little video there, and then go ahead and send your template out, but do an even split test to that same audience. And I can almost guarantee you one of those is going to result in more clicks on that video and more responses to your message. And it's going to be the one that looked like a human wrote it. Because I just like ask the room right now, when's the last time you guys responded to a template? Like Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business, right? They send out templates. Nobody responds to those. So we're used to seeing this template sort of email that's like, hey, here's information. Not, hey, I wanted to reach out to you personally and share this information with you because we have a relationship. That's not what a template conveys. And so in real estate, it is about relationships. It's not about transactions. It's about helping people. So I encourage you to help more people, make it look like you wrote an email personally to them, and then measure the results. I mean, who knows? Maybe your audience is different and they love templates. I don't know. But the first part of it is, one, humans respond to things that humans wrote, and two, the actual deliverability. Because when there's more HTML and stuff in the body of an email, it's more likely to not be delivered, to end up in promotions, in the tab that they don't see, or even in spam. So again, highly encourage a split test. If anyone's using a lot of templates, try one without. Try to make it look like a human wrote this email. And actually, it doesn't matter on the sender for that. You can use a Mailgun or MailChimp or SendGrid or Dubb or Gmail. Try whatever sender you want. But instead of doing a template, try a human, make it look like a human really wrote it. Hey, John, wanted to do a quick email for you. Here's a little update on the market. And John's going to feel like you sent that email to him. He's like, wow, you took the time out of your day. But if it's a template, everybody instantly knows this was not sent to them. This was sent to a number of other people, and it's not personal. So measure it for yourself. Great question.
Cool. Thank you.
You got it. All right. What else we got? Let's see here if I, Bill, yeah, see, I got to get my mic involved here. I have it. I don't even have it plugged in. What's going on with that? Good. Okay. Brooke, question. What if they text stop? Does it notify me? So yes, you can have it set to where if someone takes action, like they click unsubscribe or whatever, you can have that be notified to you, like either an internal notification that says, hey, somebody said, don't contact me, or that can definitely be set up as a notification. Share, if they exist out of the form to click on video share, is that right? If they exist out of the form to click on video testimonials?
Capo.
Exit. Sorry. Okay, got it. Yeah, I was like, is it exit or enter or okay? So if they exit out of the form and click on video testimonials, will the form pop back up? So in that case, like if we're going to have other videos on the because like the video testimonial should go into the playlist, right? So like it would be like this one is Greg Hanner testimonial. So if it's testimonials, keep those in the playlist. But if we're going to have another button like this goes to Google reviews or something like that, we still need that. We need to put that form on that second page. So if we're going to direct them to another page, we want to make sure that this form is also on that page. So that way they don't have to come try to find back the original page. But yeah, to your point, if it's testimonials, just pop them right into the playlist. And that way they can say, hey, fill out the form. And then right after your request, it says, hey, fill out the form. We'll be in touch. Can't wait to work with you. Hear from some of our happy clients. And then boom, right into the testimonial, telling them how awesome you are. So
thank you.
Good question. Lisa, do you have a QR code maker in the system? Yes, and sort of no. Yes, in the fact that every time you make a video, Dubb is going to automatically generate a QR code for you. So every single video has its own QR code, and that's going to have the buttons and forms and whatever else you need beneath it. But you can't generate like a specific QR for something else. So it's not like a QR generator for anything, but it is a QR generator for any video. And there are other services out there too. Like I'm not familiar with them right now, but I know other people have used them. I just use ours because I just end up using this. But you can put any link behind a QR code. Just like a Google search, I think would take care of that. You got it. Good question, Lisa. Okay.
And when you talk about it generating a QR code, is it is the QR code going to point to the landing page? So if you change the template or whatever, it'll still hit the same video?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And that's why this is evergreen. Yeah, exactly. So one time you guys make this open house page and it's a set it and forget it thing. Like if you want to update it, your hair changed, you shaved or something, I don't know, whatever. You want to update it, that's great. But this is really just a one-time deal. You create that one landing page, one video, one form, and then that same QR code is going to go on all the open house flyers. And then again, there's lots of other limitations. You guys are doing park bench ads, put a QR code on it. If you're doing anything flyer, anything physical, any mailers, put a QR code, put the thing here, put a form, actually measure your physical marketing, because how often can you do that? The only time your bench ad's working when someone calls you, hey, I called you from your bench ad. How often does that happen, right? If you're running one. Flyers, digital flyer, and you send out mailers. The only time is someone calls you and emails you, hey, I'm ready to list or I'm ready to work. That's the only time it's effective. QR code will let you measure all that type of physical medium. You can see how many people pointed their camera to this, which is a pretty good indication of how many people were even interested or opened this mail, versus not having any insight on it at all. So good.
Hey, Ruben, I got a quick question. How's it going, man? Nice to meet you. Aaron, hey, I'm doing a lot of market updates now, trying to push keep people updated on the market. I want to know how, and I'm doing YouTube, so I'm trying to integrate Dubb to go to YouTube.
Yep.
And with the YouTube channel and things like that. But how do I do full screen and then bring it so it goes to the small screen?
You got it.
I saw it goes to full screen, but it's not going full screen.
You got it. Here you go. The desktop app is the #1 tool I'm going to recommend for any screen recordings now. Before we only had the Chrome extension. That's this little guy here. And that's what we're using. I use mostly the desktop app now. So the desktop
app.
Yeah, so what you're going to do right here, just your browser to dubb.com/desktop-app. Wait, desktop-app like that. And then you'll have either the Mac or PC version to download. And this is like the Chrome extension, but buffer, more stuff on it. So I'll show you this guy really. The desktop app has that full size button, and it's going to take up 90% of the screen. You can see, so it won't take up 100%, but it's 90 something percent of the screen. It's most of the screen, and then one bubble, and then you're right back to the bubble or the square or whatever else. You can see the resize is also easier to do. There's a lot more flexibility and functionality on the desktop. It also has some really advanced annotation tools. So when I was showing you guys earlier the presentation on how to increase your home's value, That's what you're going to use for this. You're going to use the desktop app, and you're going to say, you can draw on things, you can click on things, you can circle things. There's also a teleprompter. You can give yourself a script so that while you're recording from it, it can all be scripted and they won't actually see the teleprompter. So teleprompter, pausing, annotation tools, that's the best way to record your screen.
I love the teleprompter, man. I'm a script guy, so
nice. Yeah, I mean, when I can, like if it's short, I'll try to memorize it. But if it's like 2 minutes long or more, I'm like, no, that's going to take me 20 minutes or more to memorize, and then I'm going to mess up 10 times, and I'm not going to want to do it. So I'm like, nope, just put it in the teleprompter. So, yep. By the way, too, teleprompter thing. If you guys have external cameras, it's going to be hard on the computer. You have to be like way far back because the distance between the teleprompter and your camera is going to be like an inch or more. So 2 things I recommend to fix that. One is when you're reading from the teleprompter, you need to make sure you're doing top line only. So because if you're reading here from this 4th line or something, it's going to look like I'm looking way down here. Versus if I'm reading from the top line, at this distance, you almost can't tell that I'm looking at a teleprompter, but also my webcam's built in. So if yours is external, like an inch or 2 above the monitor, and you're reading from these middle lines, it's not going to work. Even back here, it's still going to look like you're looking up. So make sure you're doing top line only like that. And then you can also decrease the font size. So, and depending on your vision and stuff like that, speed. The good thing about this is whatever you set it to, whatever width and height and text size and speed, it's going to remember all that. So you don't have to readjust the teleprompter every time you want to record. Just set it and forget it. Same rule applies on the mobile, guys, where if that same teleprompter, you want it really nestled up next to the camera. So let me show you quick that guy. When you're on the mobile teleprompter, it's going to start like let me turn the blur. It's going to start like halfway in the screen like that. So you want to make sure that you use the little switch over there to keep it right up there. Because again, if you're reading from halfway on the screen, it doesn't look like you're looking at the camera up here. So you're going to want to scrunch that guy up. You can make it a little bit wider if you want. And then that way your script is right there up at the top of the camera, and it will be impossible to tell that you're reading, even at like arm's length. I had to figure this one out because I was doing it like too close or something, and it takes a little bit of adjustment, but making sure that's at the top and then like arm's distance, you'll be perfect for the teleprompter. Good. All right. Let's see here, guys. Any other questions? Any other things we have in there? We made it past the hour. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Anything else we can do for you today?
Hey, more of a comment than a question. Keep up the great work, because all of these updates that you're doing on the desktop app and the mobile app and everything, if you keep up with those updates, they're amazing. So you guys are doing a great job.
We are. We're powering right through them. There's more coming along the way. I got a couple of really cool suggestions, like cinematic mode in the app, right? Because the iPhone has that cinematic mode, and people really like that. And I was like, man, that'd be killer, because I use that if I'm doing video, but I didn't even think about adding it to the app. So little stuff like that, where we're always listening. And if you guys have suggestions, have feature requests, anything, please come to support@dubb.com and say, hey, Darius, how about this feature? Literally, that's how we've built the platform, guys. We listen and we hear you guys, and we come and build stuff based on what we need. So you tell us, we build it.
Darius, hey, you guys, Rob,
sorry, go ahead.
May the force be with you.
Yeah, you too, brother. Good seeing you again, Brooke. I think it's our first time seeing you in video in this live. So welcome. Yeah. Welcome. Good. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, we appreciate you guys. Seriously, you guys keep us motivated and growing and doing the things that we are supposed to be doing. So hopefully we're doing the same for you, keep you motivated and fed with some information on your next strategy, on your next piece, on how to incrementally improve our business. So mutually appreciated. Right on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Next time.
Thanks.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.